get smarter every single day about the job. Educate yourself, because you have to be better and more educated than your prospects for them to trust you and want to do business with you. You got to be a thought leader. Get smart.
What's going on, everybody? It's Morgan J. Ingram here, host of the SDR Chronicles, providing you motivational tactics, tips, and content as a sales development professional, and also as an entrepreneur, as I believe that sales development is the mantra and vocal point of your career and of your life as you continuously use it every single day as part of your daily journey. So today I have a special guest, Jake, from Director of Sales Development from Motionpoint. He's also done a ton of other stuff in sales development. So super excited to have him here today as he is scaling his team. And this is a topic that's going to be continuously ongoing as, you know, tech companies who scale all the time. But what we're going to talk about is finding talent as you're scaling. And what's more importantly, finding the right talent and not finding talent that's good, but then end up corrupting your culture. So I'm going to let Jake talk a little bit more about himself and why he decided about the topic today.
Morgan, thanks. Really good to be here. Thanks for having me on the program.
Definitely.
Yeah, so this all came about as we are scaling here at Motionpoint down in South Florida. We are not only scaling at headquarters, but we're also scaling internationally, and it's becoming an increasing challenge to get the right talent in the right positions at the right time. And so I just thought it would be cool to share a lot of the ins and outs and the lessons learned from us going through that process as we're going through it.
Definitely. Yeah, no, for sure. So tell us a little bit about how did you even get into sales development? Like, how did this happen? Now you're the director.
Yeah, so I started my career in sales. I worked actually for AT&T out of school and went through a formal training program with them to be an account executive, to be in sales, B2B sales. And I did that for a couple of years, learned selling and learned technology, worked for a couple of startups in between then and now, and worked actually with my current boss in a previous role at another startup organization, where we met and built an SDR team and an account executive team there as well. And then when he started here at Motionpoint, he called me up and said, Jake, let's build an SDR team, and we want to scale this thing in a big way. And so here I am.
Awesome. That sounds great. So let's talk about scaling a team. First off, before we talk about finding talent, what are some challenges that you're facing right now as you're scaling this team?
So I think the first thing is we want to make sure that the talent is the right fit. And what I mean by fit is cultural fit, educational background fit, work experience fit. And initially we thought, okay, anyone with a lot of enthusiasm and some intelligence can be an SDR. Well, what we found was in the product that we sell specifically that it's really important that someone has a little bit of experience, not necessarily in sales, but it's some work experience. And so finding that persona to fill the SDR roles has been a little bit more of a challenge, only because it's, we have to pitch ourselves. We're selling our company just as much as an SDR candidate wants to sell themselves on the process. But kind of the mantra we've come up with is never settle, because talent, we believe, is fundamental to the core of the team, to the success of the team. And we've already learned kind of the hard way in a couple instances where we really need people. We're trying to increase headcount. We're trying to increase the top of the funnel. Let's bring someone on in a mad scramble, even if they aren't a perfect fit. And it's come back to bite us. So we kind of keep going back to this idea of never settle. Let's constantly be raising the bar. And so that's kind of what our team, we say it so much, we're all getting made fun of now.
You have shirts for it already?
We don't have shirts yet for it, but that's a good idea, actually. It's really, really important. And we've doubled down on that concept. And so everyone that we bring in, we're finding a really valuable tool to help us bring in the right talent is to have the existing talent help us do that. So initially we're having every SDR meet with every incoming candidate. And if it wasn't unanimous, if it wasn't a unanimous yay, we'd say, I'm sorry, this isn't a good culture fit. We really truly desired that everybody would want to be working with the new candidates. Now, as we continue to grow, and now we're a team of 25, it becomes increasingly difficult to do that, to have 25 people meet with every candidate. Not only does it take them away from their own production, but people don't want to do that many interviews, and I can't blame them. So, so what we've done now is we've take our internal recruiting team takes a handful of SDRs with different levels of tenure within the organization and puts them into the interview process. And so we get a really good feel for a candidate from a variety of different viewpoints. And it's a time-tested kind of strategy because it's been working really, really well for us. And we truly believe that talent is fundamental to everything that we do here. Because not only does talent help build the top of the funnel and build pipeline, but it builds the culture. And so we're using that talent to help build the culture. And it's kind of happening organically and creating really cool things.
That's awesome. So I guess my next question is, out of that, you said it's happening organically. Are you getting a lot of referrals from SDRs that are currently at that culture and they like it so much that they're bringing their friends in?
Yeah, where that's happening a lot, but it's not as much as what we're getting from recruiters. So what we've found also is that because we're hiring so much, I think we plan to hire 40 plus people on the SDR team this year.
Yeah.
We don't have the bandwidth to do it ourselves, even with referrals and everything else. So we do a referral program. We have a referral program that works well for us, but it's not our primary source. Primarily, we're using third-party recruiters who we are willing to pay every penny to have them filter us really great candidates, and they've been doing a really good job. I don't think we could do it at this pace without them.
Definitely. And that makes a lot of sense. If you're definitely scaling to that many people, you're going to need more than a referral program. And then recruiters are going to need all hands on deck to make sure that you reach that number. So when you're looking at talent, are you looking at people that are more so like you when you are a young sales professional, or do you look for people that actually fit the criteria of what you're looking for?
Good question. So what we look for kind of coming in, two main characteristics, I'd say, are resiliency and resourcefulness. So we want to make sure that people are going to be okay with failure.
Is there a reason why those two are chosen?
We've just seen that those are the kind of the qualities that our successful SDRs embody. And so that's what we want to copy and paste essentially for every new hire that we bring in. So for a number of reasons, I mean, there's a lot of rejection obviously in the job. As you well know. And so the ability to deal with that rejection and bounce back from it is really, really important. And so we look for things in their past that where they might have failed. Maybe it was a job that they had for 6 months only, and hey, what happened there, and how'd you recover from it? And then on the resourcefulness side, it's really important because we're such a fast-growing organization and because everything is not perfectly molded in place, that SDRs have the ability to be resourceful in that if they don't know something or if they weren't told something directly, that they can go and find a team member or find another person on the floor to help them through to an issue or a problem or to answer a question. And so those are two things that I think are really, really important, regardless of whether they have experience or not.
Right.
And these are things that we can sort of start seeing in the interview process, part of which we extend over a long period of time. We have a pretty rigorous interview process, which extends over multiple in-persons, which we find is important because one day someone might come in a great mood and you see one side of them, and then 3 days later or a week later they come in and they're a completely different person. So to see a person 3 times, you kind of get a really good feel of, hey, is this person consistent? Is this person going to be good for the long term, the long haul? Can he present himself or she present themselves the same way 3 times? And so that's really important for us.
So our interview process was kind of similar. We had a phone screening with the recruiter, and then they actually met us twice in person. So 3 times is extra that you guys are doing. So with that process, are they meeting with you every single time? Are they meeting with people outside of sales development? Are they meeting with other sales development reps? What does that process look like? And how do you make sure that someone doesn't dupe the system?
Sure. Good question. So we do phone screens. So a recruiter brings us a candidate. Our internal HR recruiting team helps to do initial phone screens after the recruiter has presented the candidate.
Right.
If they pass the phone screen, they get sent in for the first in-person. That first in-person is a research interview. So we ask them to do some level of research on our company, on our product suite, on our customers, some of the use cases. And we see how they present that research to us in an informal way, not a PowerPoint presentation or anything like that. Right. But hey, what do you know about Motionpoint? What do you know about our executive team? What do you know about what we're doing or in our history and things like that. And it really is a good way to understand a person's ability to do some research, which is extraordinarily important in the role, especially at the enterprise level. We really need to dissect the companies that we're prospecting in a very deep way. And so it gives us a pretty good understanding right off the bat if they have a decent ability to do some research, some true research. So that's the first interview. And in that interview, they're meeting a couple of different people, maybe one person from the SDR team itself, maybe one person from our sales engineering team. Sales engineering and sales works very closely with sales development. So we'll usually send an AE and we'll send a sales engineer in on that first day of interviewing.
Okay.
To get some feedback and elicit some feedback from them on the person's ability kind of innately and their ability to have done research and things like that.
Okay. So you have that. So you have someone look for not only a role that they may be looking to get in the future, you're sitting in people for that culture check to see if, like, can they even mesh with the team? Because that's also super important. And that's like the next question is, what are some questions that you're asking people directly to see how they answer them to tell whether or not that they're actually going to be a good fit?
Sure. So we don't really ask a lot of trick questions. I know a lot of interviews they're asking like, how many M&Ms fill this jar or whatever. And
not that crazy. Not that crazy.
Trying to figure out.
There was one I had, if you could choose one superhero, who would it be? And like, there was a right or wrong answer to that one. I was like, I don't even know how that's even possible, but I know.
The important thing for us is how they get along with the team, right? And the feedback that we get from the team after we do we have post-interview follow-up sheets that we fill out, and every team member is responsible for asking a certain number of basic questions, and then they kind of have the freedom on their own to ask stuff that's outside the box. So you get questions like, if you wanted to pick a dinner, who would you have dinner with and why? Something like that, a famous person, dead or alive, these kinds of questions. And they're fun, but it's an interesting way to kind of get someone to open up a little bit. We want them to come out of their shell. We want them to, we want to understand who they are a little bit more than just inside the walls of the interview process. So there's not a lot of formality around that piece, but the amount of people that we introduce them to gives us an ability to really get a good feel for a person over that period of time. And that's just the first day. And the second time they come in, if we like what we see on that first day of interviewing, we have them come back again for a role play exercise. We give them a case study on site. We don't let them have time to prepare for it. We give them a little case study exercise with a fake, use case. We go into another room, let them prepare for 20 minutes, go into another room, do a role play exercise, understand how they handle objections, understand how they do that thing. And we're not looking there for their ability to be experts at making a cold call. We don't really care that they're experts today at making a cold call. We care that they have the ability to be coached. So we'll come back in after the call. We'll give them some feedback about how we expect a prospecting call to go. Hey, you didn't ask any discovery questions. You can't just, start diarrheaing all over the prospect. Why don't you try this again? And so we're looking for that ability to accept and to take coaching and to apply it. And it's cool, the things that people, the way that people adapt to that. And it really tells you about a person's character too.
Definitely. And that it definitely is applicable, because if you don't have someone who's coachable, especially if maybe it's their second job or their first job, it's going to be very hard for you to get them in the direction that you want them to go.
Totally.
So, definitely I'm with that, because, as I was hiring people, it was, if you can find someone who's coachable and willing to learn from you, it was kind of like they were going to not be successful because they didn't understand what this role really encompassed and actually how it was going to be played out for them.
Sure. And we get a lot of the day in the life questions, and it's really great to have a different subset of SDRs. We have SDRs at different levels, level 1, 2, and 3 SDRs, depending on their seniority and tenure at the company, and experience level. And we try to give candidates a perspective from each one of those, and let them, kind of take them through the day in their lives and see what kind of objections they come up with or what kind of questions they come up with. And it's interesting to put those two things together, those two types of people together, and see how they interact with each other.
100%. So, Jake, let's go into something else. As you are getting these people, where are you getting them from? I think that's a question that people ask across the board is, you're getting talent, but like, what do you do? Are you going out to schools and you're grabbing people from the classrooms? Jake, what are you doing?
Yeah, so all of the above. We have a pretty aggressive college recruiting program handled by our internal team. And here's the thing with college students. We've found that it's not quite as beneficial to bring in someone that's really green and right out of school and throw them into an SDR position right away. It's because we're scaling so fast, and because our resources are limited in our ability really train and onboard people to the degree that they would need to be trained if they came right out of school. We're looking for people for that, from that 1 to 2 year experience. So we're pulling people from the local tech community. We're pulling people from local sales roles, at tech companies or not. We found that even if you have no technology sales experience, it's easier for us to train you on the technology and on the sale rather than train you on selling. So that's where our recruiters are helping pull from. That's where we're helping, we're looking for, to pull from. So it's a little bit of college and university activity to help fill what we created, another role, for new entrants right from college, that will ultimately filter into the SDR role. But again, that'll be more of a grooming role, more of a research-based role. And we think it'll really help us fill our SDR funnel, which is we're really excited about. We're excited about that role. But it'll also help make the SDRs themselves more efficient and more productive, because a lot of the admin and research associated with the role will be moved on to these people.
Yeah. So they're giving them more, I guess, more of an ease as they enter the organization.
Sure. It's like a kind of a crawl, walk, run approach, right? We take them in, hey, you don't have any sales experience, but you're really smart and you got a lot of ambition and you're really hungry and you want to develop a career in enterprise software sales. Awesome. We can help foster that. Come in, you get a base salary, but you don't get any commission yet. Work the job for 3 to 6 months, and let's teach you all the ins and outs of being an SDR, that you can really easily move right into that role.
Yep, that makes total sense. And as you've been hiring these people, you've been training them, what has been the most satisfactory thing that you've done so far?
The cool thing to witness is the ramp time, right? So we're looking, we go to a candidate and we say, in the interview process, we expect 0 production from you in the first month. We need you to learn the business. We need you to learn the sales cycle. We need you to learn the technology. So we're not expecting any actual numbers on the board for appointments in the first month. Second month, we expect you to be at 50% capacity. So our average is between 10 and 12 appointments, to quality appointments a month, that we like to set. And then 100% capacity in month 3. So we want to scale this thing kind of reasonably. We always set reasonable expectations for our SDRs, because burnout is important. Burnout's a big factor in the role, obviously. So we don't want to be that kind of environment. We don't want to foster that kind of culture. So we want to give all the tools that are necessary in terms of training and enablement to get SDRs that are new ramped and onboarded in a reasonable manner.
Yeah.
So where was the question going with that?
Yeah, the question was like, what was the most satisfactory moment?
The most satisfactory. So so the ramp time has been a really exciting thing, because we outline that 3-month ramp, right? Full capacity, 10 to 12 appointments in month 3. What we've seen is that as we get better at this, and as we get more efficient in our hiring process, as we understand who our really ideal candidates are for the role, we're seeing ramp times go down to like weeks instead of months. So instead of 3 months now, it's like 3 weeks, where we're having an SDR at productive capacity to be producing that 10 to 12 a month.
Yeah.
So that's a really exciting thing for us. It's accelerating everything. It's accelerating promotions. It's accelerating upward movement for the SDR team into the AE role. And it's accelerating our necessity to hire, because what we see is that as SDRs continue to evolve and set a lot of appointments, they wind up managing a lot of top of funnel opportunities through that top of funnel to get to the point of qualified opportunities. And as a result, it's taking capacity away from their ability to produce.
Yeah.
So we need to backfill for that capacity gap as our SDRs become really productive.
When you really think about it, like across the board, everyone who's listening and then tuning in, is when you're thinking about talent, is how fast can you get them going, right? It's just like if you have like a kid. I don't have a kid, but if you do have a kid, right? Like you think about like when I was growing up, like my parents like were teaching me all this stuff, like how to ride a bike, how to throw a baseball, how to do basketball. And like the faster you can do that, the more proud of it you are, how proud they are of you. So same thing with like SDRs. It's like, how fast can I get them on the phone to get a demo? How fast can I get them to convert into all their conversations at a higher rate? How fast can I get them to understand the emails and our solution? So I feel like as a manager, as a leader, that's where you feel the most satisfaction, because you took someone in and that was your call and you got them to a level where you knew that they could get to, that they made themselves didn't even think they could get to.
Totally. That's totally true. And Yeah, no, it's a very cool thing to see that progression happening, and it happens over time. I mean, you don't become an expert at this overnight, and
No,
you're never really an expert. You're always just trying to achieve better and better results.
of course.
And part of that is collecting a lot of data and making sure we understand what we're doing and how we're collecting the data, and then making good decisions based upon it. So it's a very cool thing to see that. Yeah.
And so with that, there have been a tons of people that, since you're about to hire 40 people, you probably have trained and coached a lot of people thus far. So you mentioned a couple traits before, but what are the top 5 traits that you believe that an SDR needs to be successful and have a successful career, even sales career?
Great question. You put me on the spot. So I think that you have to have a basic level of intelligence, right? You have to. We're selling a sophisticated product to a sophisticated group of people. So to navigate a deal in our sales cycle is a complex thing, and you have to be able to juggle a lot of different things. So ultimately, we want to see an SDR in an AE role. So what we look for at the very, very beginning is, does this person have the ability to be a salesperson, a true salesperson, in the enterprise? And so that's the first thing we're looking for. But I'd say if you had to name 5 characteristics, intelligence is really important. Drive and hunger is important. Ambition, kind of an entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, we are an established company. We've been around for a long time, but there's such an entrepreneurial culture, of a vibe in here of kind of, let's do this, let's make this work together, and let's fix a problem, before it becomes a problem, and take it on yourself to fix it. So that's a really important trait, and then it kind of goes back to the resourcefulness thing. So if we see a problem, we encourage the team to bring solutions to the table. And that's kind of cliche, like, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. You hear it a zillion
Yeah, of
times.
course.
But the reality is that in a growing organization, things break when you scale. And so having a team of really, really talented people that can then help you fix those problems in real time is really important. And it's really helped us kind of smooth the flow as we get on this trajectory and continue on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was 5, but
There was a mix of 5 in there.
yeah.
For sure. No, and I think, and the reason I even said that is because I think across the board is that it's always going to be different. Like, my 5 are getting different than your 5, than someone else's 5, and someone else, I asked that question, they're going to give me another 5. But I do believe that the most important one is you have to be able to listen, and because that leads into coachability, that leads into giving value to your prospects, and it leads into every single thing you said overall, because if you don't listen, you can't use all the other traits and skill sets that you have.
Totally. And it's an easy thing to pick up on in an interview. I mean, I'm sure you've had interviews where you're talking to people and they just cut you off. Like, let me tell you about what I've sold. Let me tell you about what I've done. Let me tell you what my attainment quota has been. As soon as you hear that, it's just like, okay, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really important. You're right that listening is extremely important because of the coachability aspect of it.
Yeah. So that's something that when I'm looking at it, it's like, that's what we really focus on, is that, like, is this person coachable? Because if they're coming in thinking that they're going to rule the world and they're not coachable, it's going to be very tough within the organization.
And it affects the rest of the team. The other thing that we learned is that every person that you bring onto the team affects the dynamic of the team. So if you bring one person on like that on a team of 10, it really has the ability to either negatively or positively impact the team. So you have to be really careful and very, what's the word? You have to just be very careful about the people that you bring onto the team, because you really don't want to create any kind of negative sentiment.
100%. So talk a little bit about this. As you're getting people on the team, you're bringing in the right talent, but that talent is moving very quickly. They're learning things at a very rapid rate, and now they're asking you for a promotion, but it may be too soon. How do you handle that? And if people want to get promotion and they are talented, how do they handle that conversation with a leader like yourself?
Great question. So, and that's happening a lot here. As this thing continues to grow really, really quickly, everyone sees opportunity, right? They see opportunity for themselves. They see opportunity for their teammates, and they want that upward mobility. But it's really important to have the expectations set up front. And I think we do a really good job at that. There's always a way to do a better job, because SDRs they'll take something one way, and even if you said it in another. So it's really important what you say, but how you say it. In terms of setting those expectations, we set very concrete ones. So For a level 1 to progress to a level 2, there are very, very concrete expectations. For a 2 to 3, there are also very concrete expectations. And then for the kind of the big one is moving from this level 3, which we call a hybrid, to an AE role. And that's the biggest. And that's where we're looking for a closed dollar amount in MRR, monthly recurring revenue, in addition to a number of deals closed. So, and that kind of gives us the ability to be, to make sure that we're not just closing one big deal or we're closing 5 little deals, but to make sure that we know that there's with some level of consistency and predictability, because that's really what all of this is about, a predictable and consistent way to generate new revenue to the business, that we can predict and in a consistent way predict this person's ability to be productive in the AE role. So I'd say the short and simple for that is concrete expectations. That way there's no subjectivity in it. We know objectively, hey, well, you didn't meet this goal. You're great. You're talented. You're awesome. We want to move you up, but you need to do these things.
Right. So you're setting it on not if someone is just saying that they can get to that next level. It's you have to hit these expectations before it's even a consideration, and also you have to look at the spots open and all those other things.
Totally right. It's not a guaranteed if you do hit those, but it's let's have that conversation now.
Yeah, exactly. It opens the door for it.
Exactly.
Cool. Awesome. So as we're winding down this interview and we're talking about talent, we're talking about scaling teams, how do you have a conversation with someone who is talented, but you actually see them talented in another position within the company?
Great question. And we've run into that a number of times.
Yeah, I have too. So I'm wondering to see how that pans out.
And as you get a lot of candidates in, you wind up with people that have false expectations or misguided expectations about what the role is, and you go, okay, this person's really great, but they really want to be in marketing. It's really important for us, and kind of this is the company culture as a whole. We want to put people in the right places. That's great that you applied for the SDR role, but listen, maybe you didn't know what the SDR role entailed. Maybe that's not your sweet spot. So we want to make sure as an organization that we can support people in the roles that they want to be in. Now, if it's an applicant and the talent is really good, kind of our motto is, you don't turn down good talent. Just don't turn it down. We'll find a spot for you. If you wow the entire team and it's not necessarily, we don't have an opening for that position today, let's find something productive for them too. Because you put smart people in an organization and great things will happen.
Awesome. So as we wind this down, Jake, thank you so much for the value that you've given so far. The last question that I ask every single person that comes on the show is, what is the number one piece of advice that you have for every single SDR as they enter into their new role?
Number one piece of SDR advice as they enter a new role, get smart. Get smarter every single day about the job. Educate yourself, because you have to be better and more educated than your prospects. For them to trust you and want to do business with you. You got to be a thought leader. Get smart.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for listening today. Follow Jake, get smart. As he said, go to a library, go listen to an audiobook, whatever you have to do to get yourself smarter. And as I always say, guys, keep dialing, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Morgan.